Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel here on Port Royal Pop and the first episode of The Last of Us After Party. So this is a brand new series that we're going to be doing over the next 9 weeks with 9 episodes of The Last of Us on binge. And what this show is about is we're just going to have a discussion about the show. I'm going to give you my thoughts about how the season's going, how the show's going, and offer you an opportunity to share your thoughts in the comments below. Here for the after party. So this is a spoiler ridden discussion as well. So we're going to be talking as if you've seen the first episode of The Last of Us, and each week we're going to talk as if you've seen the latest episode. So if you haven't seen it, probably best to not watch this video until you have seen it. So go and definitely check it out. If you're here in Australia, you can watch it on binge. First episode dropped Monday midday, and I think we're getting episodes midday every Monday. This HBO original show. So like I said, 9 episodes all up in season 1's been confirmed. So this sort of series is going to be running for the next 9 weeks, and then I'll do a review of season 1 once it's all out and ready to go. So once again, this is not a review of episode 1. This is just a discussion. We'll just talk about what we've seen in the show, and speculate and look towards how things are going to be traveling into the future. So already this has been out for about since Monday midday, and let's dive right into it. The Last of Us episode 1. This is the after party discussion, and I'm going to go on record in saying that this is the 80 or 90 minutes, whatever it was, that we've seen is the best adaptation of a video game on the screen, big or small. I'm going to go on a record and say that because the 80 or so minutes that we watched was perfection. It was absolutely brilliant the way that they put this, that they put it together, brought it all together, and it really captures the themes, it captures the vibes, it captures the essence of the video game, which is a beloved video game. And as a fan of the game, and when I say fan of the game, I mean The Last of Us 1 is probably top 3 video games of all time on my list. Top 3 video games of all time. So, that's how high regard I have for the video game. And I can definitely say that the first episode that we've seen so far definitely captures everything that I loved about the video game so far. Remember, it's only episode 1. There's only been 1 put out, and we can only talk and speculate about what the what we've seen so far. But from what we've seen so far, it's sold for me. Like, I bought right into it. I'm wanting to see more. And that's what the show does. It, very early reaction to it. It's drawn me in, and I think it's drawn in many, many people who have seen it. And I'm just going to try and get the number up as to how many people have streamed it so far. How many people have watched it. Because this had a big opening, this had a big build up, and it, from fans of the video game and people new to the series, from what I'm seeing and all the reactions that I'm seeing online, is that there's a universal common agreement that this episode 1 absolutely nailed it. It swung for the fences and hit it out of the park. So, kudos to the team behind The Last of Us for a remarkable first episode and a remarkable opening. Definitely set the series on the right track, and definitely looking forward to seeing how this unfolds as the 9 episode count goes. So let's get right into some of the things that stood out for me. Definitely there's no denying that this is the year of Pedro Pascal. We're getting a Mandalorian season 3 trailer dropping, and we're getting that season this year. He absolutely killed it, absolutely nailed it as Joel in this series. The Joel that we've grown and the character that we know and love from the video game, Pedro Pascal's absolutely nailed it and has brought that character to life. So I think it's an absolute win from the start, and I think he, I can't wait to see more and to see how he takes the character and how he evolves it throughout the series as well. And another, we talk about Pedro Pascal, but then we're also introduced to Bella Ramsey as Ellie. And again, the same copy and paste applied for what I said to Pedro Pascal, and copy that over to Bella Ramsey. Now, look, it's no secret that going into the series that Bella Ramsey had her doubters, and there was a lot of questions raised around the casting of her. But after seeing this episode, and the performance that she put on as Ellie, the doubters and the people who caused a fuss, then, all you people need to take a seat and be quiet, because she absolutely nailed Ellie down to a T. Her performance of her embodied the character. And I think, her and Pedro Pascal, so Ellie and Joel's chemistry throughout the video games is something that keeps you invested in the game and in the story. And I think from at least episode 1, that's exactly what we're seeing. And, I'm sold. There's no way else to put it, is that I'm sold. What else can we talk about? We'll just talk about the opening. It starts off with the 60s interview talking about a pandemic outbreak, and definitely there's some, tongue-in-cheek, some things, some real-life parallels to the COVID-19 pandemic and the outbreak of that. But we then jump forward to 2003. I was trying to remember the year that I said. So that's the one thing that it changes from the game, is that it has adapted the timeline, which has absolutely no effect on the story whatsoever. You don't even notice it. So we flash forward to 2003, and that opening 20 minutes of the show, that sort of prologue, because we know what's going to happen. So obviously, if you've played the game, or if you're fans of the show, and that's the thing that I'm going to try and do here, is that yes, I'm going to be comparing this a lot to the video game, understandably, because this is a video game adaptation. But if you're new to The Last of Us and you haven't played the games, I'm going to do my best not to give away where the story's headed, because I know how the story is going to go. I know what's going to unfold. I knew how it's going to go. I knew what was going to happen in that first 20 minutes. But from here on episode 1 onwards, I'll do my best not to give away the big important plot points leading forward. Because we also got to remember that this is an adaptation, and the first episode was a pretty close representation of the opening of the video game, leading into what happened in 2003, and then jumping forward. It's a pretty accurate adaptation. But with that said, there were certain elements that they've changed. There are certain things that they refined from the game. And I think that the certain things that they changed for the show, I think it works a whole lot better. Not a whole lot better, but it definitely works with what they've done, what they've changed, what they've adapted, going from video game to TV series. So they refined certain elements, they changed certain elements here and there, and they've even expanded and added on certain elements. Very subtly, very small here and there, but I think overall, in the 80 minutes that we saw, it was perfection the way that they've told that story out. So yeah, once again, I'm not going to try and that's the other thing, like, I can talk about where the story's heading and the plot points that are coming up, but This is only episode 1. We don't know how accurate to the game it's going to continue to be. Whether that's the case. I mean, we know we're going to get original characters. We know we're going to get some original plot points added in, because they've announced that there's certain actors and even voice characters from the game, voice actors from the game are going to be included in the live action series in new roles, in original roles to the series. So, and that's another thing that I think is really exciting for fans of the video game, fans of the series, is that it's taking what we know, it's adding on, it's refining, expanding the world of The Last of Us. And I think from here on, from episode 2 onwards, it's going to keep us invested, going to keep us engaged. Because as it stands, episode 1 didn't skip a beat. It swung for the fences. It scored a touchdown and more. It was the Jaguars. It came through at the end. And I think it's really going to keep audiences wanting more and engage in this remarkable story. So if you, like I said, I keep going back to the video game. It is a remarkable piece of storytelling. Is it the best story in video game history? Possibly. For me, in terms of video game, it's top 3 for me. You look at it as a whole package, the gameplay, the story of it, and the visual thing like that. Top 3 for me. But the narrative itself of The Last of Us, I think, is definitely, many people have said, and you can't really argue that against it, but a lot of people do say that The Last of Us video game, Part 1 and Part 2, are the best story ever told in video game history. Part 2 has its doubters, but, they're just minute and they don't really matter. But the story of The Last of Us is highly regarded amongst the gaming community, and what they managed to do in the 80 minutes, remember this is only the first 80 minutes, is they managed to take that story, take the opening of that story, and absolutely nailed it for the runtime. And it's gotten me hooked. It's got many other people who are new to the franchise, who have never ever had anything to do with The Last of Us, who have never played the game. And like I said earlier, the common conception is that this The Last of Us HBO series, it's catered for both sets of audiences. And people who are new to the series are saying that they are loving it, and people who are fans of the video game are saying that the way they've stuck faithful to the story, and the way that Pedro Pascal and the way that Bella Ramsey and all the other characters as well. I mean, you talk about the other characters. You got Anna Torv as Teresa Tess. You got Gabriel Luna as Tom Miller. Tommy Miller, which is Joel's brother. Nico Parker, who is, I'll get a shot of her. That's pause it there. That's Nico Parker, who plays Sarah Miller. And I suppose we'll just get into that now. Let's talk about that opening 20 minutes. That's where I was leading on before. It is the most impactful opening to a video game that I've ever played in my life. And the way that they've translated to the screen is equally just as powerful. Because, watching the opening 20 minutes of this, we're in 2003, you've got Joel living with his daughter, his brother Tommy's also in the picture. You know what's going to happen. If you're fans of remember, this is a complete spoiler zone, so if you haven't seen the show, you should have dipped out by now, but big warning so far. So what's, if you know The Last of Us story, you know what's happening, you know what's going to come to poor Sarah. And I think the way they portrayed it in the show and the way that it played out is equally just as impactful as when you play it in the video game. Because you get that build-up for 20 minutes, you get this build-up of Joel and his daughter. and then all hell breaks loose, so to speak. You know, it hits the fan. You get hints of all is not right in the world. You get hints that there is something happening in the background. So that scene when she's in the barbershop, oh, not the barbershop, sorry, the watch fixing place, the watch repair, and the wife comes out and sort of hurries her out, and you get this idea that there is something happening in the background. She goes home. Well, that's the first. She took the DVD, so she's. Rewind. There's so much to talk about. So when she leaves that shop, she goes to the neighbors, shares cookies and that with her, and then you get this picture of, and it's a really great shot from the show, which I'm hoping I can try and get a shot of. Let's have a look if I can. Just want to get the shot where she's in the, she's looking at something, and there's this visual of Sarah in the foreground, and in the blurred background you see Grandma sitting there, and you can see that something's happening with her. Something's happening in the background. You don't really see it in that shot that they did in the show, which is, translated over from the video game. That shot was amazing. That shot was absolutely incredible. And I'm seeing if I can get a shot of that, just to bring it up on the screen. But everybody who's seen the show, if you've seen the show, you know what shot I'm talking about. When she's looking at the cookies or whatever, and you got that shot in the background, Grandma, like where the stormtrooper head is behind me, and she's twitching and the thing's happening. That is an incredible shot, and it just has that foreboding feeling that, oh shit, something's happening. And that, I think, is where people who have not experienced the game, who are new to the franchise, they're going to see that, and they're going to start to get chills. I think it's a really creepy moment. They're going to start to get chills. They're going to start to freak out. And it's going to be like, if they haven't been hooked by just the opening 20 of Joel and his daughter, if they haven't been hooked by then I don't know what's going to hook him. That shot's going to hook him. If that shot doesn't hook him, then I don't know what will. So you get that shot. And I will say too that the way that and that's the thing, the way that Nico Parker portrayed Sarah was absolutely incredible and absolutely nailed it. So that's the one thing that I took away from the first episode, and the acting is absolutely superb in it. Like, everybody is really, really nailing their performances as the characters. You get even background characters from the video game, and even like the neighbors, the family. The way that they've brought these characters to life makes it so much more believable, and just absolutely adds to the world of The Last of Us that I think, it should be highlighted to a T. That the performances that we've seen so far have absolutely been absolute wonderful performances. So yeah, and let's go straight into that scene where Joel and Sarah are confronted by that soldier, that army man, and then we know what's going to happen is that Joel turns to the army man, who shoots at them, and that's when the big moment hits you like a truck happens, where Joel loses his daughter. And the way that Pedro Pascal brought that to life, it hits you like a truck the second time. If you played the game, you know what's going to happen. If you played the game, it hit you hard, and it's going to do the same thing watching this show. And I'm sure it has, for, people who are new to it and people who have played the game. One of the other things that stood out for me is just before that, actually, when the virus, the fungus, is actually breaking out, and there's just absolute chaos around the streets. We get that shot where they're driving through the streets. There's riots happening, and it's all from the perspective of the back from Sarah. And you got the camera going around. That's lifted straight from the video game. And that's the other thing that I wanted to mention also is that there are shots from the show that are just scene for scene reenactments or scene for scene recreations of shots from the video game, and I think it really shows that the people behind the show care about the product. They put so much love and so much care into it that it's really being shown and really being appreciated in the final result, at least for episode 1. Because like I said, remember that we've only seen 80 minutes of it, but we've seen 80 minutes of people who actually care about The Last of Us and people who actually care about the fans as a number one. People actually care about people who love the franchise whilst catering to the newcomers to the series as well, whilst catering to that new audience. I think they've done a remarkable job. And there is the showrunner behind it is the same showrunner who did Chernobyl, and I am absolutely gone blank of the name, but the person who did Chernobyl, who is Chernobyl's just as highly respected series, just an equally respected series. So he's the showrunner behind this one, and it's really showing that he knows how to get a good performance out of his actors. He just knows how to do a really good high production television show, and it's really coming through. You can see the general look of the show, the set design, the general look, the music, and that's another thing. The music, the score from the video game is absolute top tier, and it hints to the score of the video game in the series, but also adds its own. Obviously, has to add its own new thing. It's just not gonna recycle themes from. Well, I'm sorry, the entire soundtrack from the game, but it takes the theme from the game and then adds on some extras. So it's got that the guitar riffs and the things like that in it, but it adds in some new things to the mix as well, which I think is something that is really going to bring this together and add it as a whole package. And of course, the opening title sequence, something that HBO does really well, is incredible opening title sequences, and they definitely nailed it for this one as well. Excuse me. So, I mean, there's not really much else to say. We've only seen the first episode, but I'm going on record to say that the opening 80 minutes that we've seen right now as it stands is the absolute best adaptation of a video game I have seen in my life as just the first episode, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this episode goes, or the series goes, and how they handle some of the other big things that happens in this story as it progresses. So, like I said, there's been a common agreement throughout the fandom and throughout the newcomers to the series that this series is ticking all the right boxes. It's welcoming fans of the game, and it's welcoming newcomers to the series, and it's got you hooked because that very last shot of the episode, you see something in that shot, and you're thinking, oh, it's about to get turned up to another level in episode 2. So, and there's a shot of Marlene. That's another thing. All the actors have this natural interactions with each other. That's Marlene, leader of the Fireflies. They have this natural ability to just interact so well on the screen that makes these characters so believable. And I'm already missing out, like, talking about the world itself, but I might just hold off for that one until we get deeper into the series, because I don't want to, moving forward with this show and then the After Party, the series that we're doing here on Port Royal Pop, is I don't want to just dwell on comparisons to the video game. I want to move towards talking about the TV series and talking about things from the series moving forward. So I think after episode 1, I think the comparisons are out of the way. Like, as it stands, there was going to be a lot of, if you're a fan of the game, you're going to be thinking about the video game, you're going to be thinking about this and that. As it stands, I think the series has done a wonderful job now that you can look at this as a TV series and think about where it's going to take you as a fan of the TV series. And I think you can put all your doubts behind about video game adaptations, because we haven't seen a really good video game adaptation in a very long time. Not something as high quality and a level that The Last of Us has done in the first episode. So moving forward, we're going to talk about things. We're going to talk about the Fireflies. We're going to talk about Fedra. We're going to talk about all those characters, Marlene and all that. Moving forward, because I just a huge fan. Top 3 video game of all time. I can't really go into much right now with just what we've seen so far. So we need to see more of those characters. We need to flesh them out some more, and that's what I'm going to do from episode 2 of the After Party onwards. So yeah, with that said, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Last of Us episode 1. It streams every Monday on Binge. Don't forget to watch that before you join us here on the After Party. But final thoughts on the episode. It is perfection. It has nailed every beat. It has hit every beat of the drum so far. It's sold me on the fact that we're getting 9 episodes, so there's 8 remaining. I can't wait to see how this story unfolds on the big screen, on the TV screen. I can't wait to see these characters and more characters that I know are in the story. I can't wait to see them brought to life. And I can't wait to see more of Joel and Ellie, that dynamic moving forward and seeing that grow. And I'm going to say it's going to grow naturally because Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, sorry, I'm blank. Bella Ramsey nailed their characters, and I can't wait to see more of those two interact on screen, along with people such as Tess and Tom. So with that said, I'll leave it at that. Overall impression, perfection. First 80 minutes is perfection for The Last of Us. So thanks for watching. What did you think of The Last of Us episode 1? Leave your comments in the section below and let us know whether you liked it, what are your standouts. If you didn't like it, that's fine as well. Everybody's got their opinions. But I just want to hear your thoughts and what you're looking forward to as this series unfolds. So thanks for watching this episode of After Party here on Port Royal Pop. It's been a absolute hype train. Getting the series going, and I can't wait to see more of this things go on. So back next week for another After Party for Last of Us episode 2. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you want to see more of it and want to see it unfold and want to join us some more with some other great stuff we do here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell to stay up to date for when our next upload is. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right back here on Port Royal Pop.